The stars shimmered like diamonds, scattered across the endless black canvas of space. From Earth, they seemed distant and peaceful, but tonight, those same stars carried a threat unlike anything humanity had ever faced. High above the atmosphere, an enormous fleet of alien ships descended into orbit. Their sleek, metallic forms glinted in the sunlight as they positioned themselves around the planet. These were the Zenari, an interstellar empire known for their ruthless efficiency and unmatched technology. They had conquered countless worlds across the galaxy, leaving behind only silence and ruins. Now it was Earth's turn. The people below watched with a mix of awe and terror as news channels broadcast live footage of the massive vessels blotting out the sky. Panic spread through cities like wildfire. Some prayed, others cried, and many simply stood frozen, staring upward at the invaders who had come without warning or explanation. Governments scrambled to respond, but no one could agree on what to do. Should they surrender? Fight back? Try to communicate? No one knew how these aliens thought, or if they even cared about human life. On board the Zenari flagship, Commander Kel Vorn stood tall before a holographic display of Earth. His crimson armor gleamed under the ship's artificial lights, and his sharp, angular features reflected confidence and authority. To him, this mission was routine. Another world to conquer, another species to subjugate. He had led campaigns against civilizations far more advanced than this primitive planet. Yet something about Earth unsettled him, though he couldn't quite put his finger on why. "Commander," said Lieutenant Rin, stepping forward. Her voice was calm but tinged with curiosity. "Our scans show unusual energy fluctuations emanating from the planet's surface. It's interfering with our systems." Kale frowned, leaning closer to examine the data. Sure enough, strange waves of electromagnetic energy rippled across the readings, distorting their sensors and making precise targeting impossible. "An anomaly," he muttered dismissively. "Likely natural. Primitive species rarely develop effective countermeasures." Ren hesitated, clearly unconvinced. "But sir, we've never encountered anything like this before. What if?" "We proceed as planned," Kale interrupted sharply. There was no room for doubt in his mind. Delaying would only give the humans time to prepare, assuming they could even comprehend the scale of what was coming. With a wave of his hand, he ordered the deployment of scout pods to begin reconnaissance. As the first wave of landing craft broke through Earth's atmosphere, however, something extraordinary happened. The skies lit up with swirling auroras, not just at the poles, where such phenomena were common, but all over the globe. Vivid greens, blues, and purples danced across the heavens, casting an otherworldly glow over cities and forests alike. The Zenari pilots stared in disbelief as their instruments faltered, then failed entirely. Systems that had functioned flawlessly for centuries suddenly went dark. Back on Earth, Dr. Elena Voss sat hunched over her laptop in a makeshift lab buried deep beneath Colorado. She'd been monitoring the alien activity since their arrival, her fingers flying across the keyboard as she analyzed every scrap of data she could gather. When the auroras appeared, her eyes widened in shock. "This isn't random," she whispered to herself. "It's reacting to them." Elena wasn't sure whether to feel relieved or terrified. Whatever was happening, it seemed Earth itself was fighting back, and she intended to find out why. Little did she know, this discovery would change everything, for both humanity and the invaders who dared to challenge the cradle of life. High above, Commander Kale clenched his fists, his earlier confidence wavering. For the first time in his long career, he felt a flicker of unease. Perhaps Earth wouldn't be as easy to conquer as he'd thought. The auroras that lit up Earth's skies were more than just a beautiful anomaly. They were a lifeline. While the Zenari struggled to regain control of their crippled systems, humanity seized the moment. Across the globe, governments and scientists worked tirelessly to understand what had caused the electromagnetic surge. In Colorado, Dr. Elena Voss led a team of researchers racing against time. They pored over data, running simulations and testing theories, desperate to unlock the secrets behind Earth's unexpected defense. "It's not random," Elena said firmly during one of their late-night meetings. "This energy, it's responding to the invaders' presence. It's almost like Earth is alive." Her colleagues exchanged uneasy glances. The idea sounded absurd, even in the face of undeniable evidence. But absurd or not, they couldn't ignore the fact that this phenomenon had given humanity its first real advantage against an otherwise invincible enemy. Meanwhile, in a hidden military bunker outside London, Commander Averroes stood before a map of Europe covered in red markers. Each marker represented a Zenari landing site. So far, the aliens had sent small scout pods to explore the planet's surface, likely gathering intelligence before launching a full-scale invasion. Ava knew they didn't have much time. Once the Zenari regrouped, humanity would be overwhelmed. "We need to hit them now," she told her team, her voice steady but urgent, "while they're still vulnerable." Ava wasn't a politician or a scientist. She was a soldier. She understood tactics and strategy better than anyone else in the room. Her plan was simple yet risky. Use Earth's mysterious energy as a weapon. With help from engineers and tech experts, Project Aurora was born. The goal: to harness the electromagnetic bursts and turn them into a tool for attack. Hundreds of miles away, in a small workshop tucked inside a Mumbai slum, Samir Khan tinkered with parts scavenged from old electronics. A former mechanic turned refugee after losing his family in the chaos, Samir had nothing left to lose. When word spread about Project Aurora, he volunteered immediately. Using blueprints shared by Elena's team, he began building devices capable of amplifying the auroral energy. These gadgets, nicknamed ghost traps, could disrupt Zenari technology if deployed correctly. Days later, the first test took place near a Zenari landing pod in Siberia. A group of human operatives armed with ghost traps crept through the snow under the cover of darkness. Their target was a trio of alien drones patrolling the area. As they approached, Samir's invention hummed softly, emitting waves of energy designed to mimic Earth's natural fluctuations. At first, nothing happened. Then, one by one, the drones froze mid-air, their glowing cores flickering before going dark entirely. Cheers erupted among the operatives. For the first time since the invasion began, humans had struck back and won. News of the success spread quickly, igniting hope across the planet. People who had felt powerless against the Zenari now saw a glimmer of possibility. Maybe Earth wasn't doomed after all. But victory came at a cost. The Zenari weren't idle during this time. Though their initial wave of scouts had been neutralized, they adapted swiftly. Retreating to higher altitudes where the auroral effect weakened, they began deploying larger ships equipped with shield generators. Humanity's fragile resistance faced a new challenge: how to fight an enemy that learned faster than they could innovate. Back in Colorado, Elena stared at her computer screen, exhaustion etched on her face. Despite their progress, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something crucial. The auroras, the energy pulses, it all pointed to something ancient buried beneath Earth's surface, something powerful enough to repel even the most advanced invaders. As she prepared to dig deeper, Ava received intel about a massive Zenari convoy heading toward North America. If it reached its destination, it could spell disaster for Project Aurora. Time was running out. Humanity had proven it could fight, but could it win? For now, the answer remained uncertain. The victory in Siberia was short-lived. While humanity celebrated their first successful strike against the Zenari, the invaders quickly regrouped. Their larger ships now hovered at higher altitudes, shielded from Earth's auroral energy. Worse still, they began deploying ground forces armed with weapons far deadlier than anything humanity had faced before. It became clear that Project Aurora alone wouldn't be enough to stop them. Humanity needed answers, and fast. Dr. Elena Voss knew where to look. For days, she had been analyzing patterns in the electromagnetic surges that disrupted the Zenari technology. The data pointed to one conclusion: These bursts weren't random occurrences. They originated from specific locations, deep beneath Earth's surface. Ancient, buried structures seemed to pulse with the same energy that protected the planet. If humanity could uncover those structures, they might unlock a way to fight back on equal footing, or even tip the scales entirely. Her suspicions led her to an archaeological site in Egypt's western desert, long abandoned due to lack of funding. According to local legends, the area was once home to a mysterious civilization older than the pyramids themselves. Excavations decades ago had uncovered strange carvings and fragments of metallic artifacts, but no one had been able to decipher their purpose. Alina believed these relics held the key to understanding Earth's defense mechanism. Accompanied by a small team of scientists and soldiers, Alina arrived at the dig site just as dawn broke over the barren landscape. Sand stretched endlessly in every direction, interrupted only by jagged rock formations and the remnants of old excavation trenches. As they descended into the ruins, the air grew cooler and an eerie silence enveloped them. The deeper they went, the stronger the energy readings became. "This is it," Alina whispered, her voice trembling with excitement. Before them stood a massive stone doorway covered in intricate symbols glowing faintly blue. The light pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. Her assistant, Dr. Lin Mei, ran a scanner over the structure, her eyes widening as the results came in. "It's emitting the same frequency as the auroras," Lin said, glancing at Alina. "But it's not natural. Someone, or something, built this." As the team worked to unlock the door, strange things began happening around them. Dust swirled unnaturally in the air, forming shapes that resembled human figures. Whispers echoed through the chamber, though no one spoke. Some of the soldiers shifted uneasily, gripping their weapons tighter. Even Alina felt a chill creep up her spine, but she refused to let fear stop her. Whatever secrets lay beyond that door, they were too important to ignore. Finally, after hours of careful work, the door creaked open with a low groan. Beyond it lay a cavernous room filled with towering machines made of an unknown metal. The walls shimmered with veins of crystalline material that pulsed with the same blue light. In the center of the room stood a pedestal holding what appeared to be a sphere encased in translucent energy. As Alina approached it, the sphere flared brightly, projecting holographic images into the air. The images showed scenes of Earth millions of years ago, before humans existed. Alien creatures roamed the land, building cities and harnessing advanced technology. But then came destruction. Fiery impacts from space, oceans boiling away, entire civilizations wiped out. Amidst the chaos, the sphere revealed a final act of defiance, a network of devices buried across the globe designed to protect Earth from future threats. Alina realized the truth. Earth wasn't just a planet. It was a fortress, built by an ancient race to safeguard life itself. And now, billions of years later, their creation was awakening to defend humanity. But outside the ruins, trouble brewed. The Zenari had detected the energy spike from the site and were closing in. Time was running out. Could Alina and her team extract the knowledge they needed before the invaders arrived? Or would Earth's last line of defense fall into enemy hands? For the first time, hope flickered in Alina's heart. But so did dread. As the Zenari closed in on the Egyptian ruins, humanity's resolve only grew stronger. Across the globe, ordinary people stepped forward to fight for their world, not because they were soldiers or scientists, but because they had no other choice. From engineers tinkering with makeshift weapons to farmers turning fields into hiding spots, everyone played a role in resisting the invaders. Among them, Samir Khan and Commander Avaraiz emerged as symbols of hope, proving that even the smallest acts of courage could make a difference. In Mumbai, Samir worked tirelessly in his cramped workshop, refining the ghost traps that had already proven effective against the Zenari. His hands moved deftly over wires and circuits, sweat dripping from his brow as he pushed himself to the limit. Each new device was better than the last, smaller, more efficient, and capable of generating stronger electromagnetic pulses. Word of his success spread quickly, and soon, volunteers began lining up outside his door, eager to help him mass-produce the traps. "Samir ji, we need more," said Priya, a young woman who had lost her brother in an alien attack. Her voice wavered with emotion, but her determination was unwavering. "Every second counts." "I know," Samir replied without looking up. "Just keep assembling the parts I showed you. We'll get there." Though exhausted, he couldn't afford to slow down. Every trap meant another chance to protect someone. A family, a child, a friend. Meanwhile, in North America, Commander Avarais led a daring operation to delay the advancing Zenari convoy heading toward the Egyptian site. Intelligence reports indicated the aliens intended to seize control of whatever secrets lay buried beneath the desert sands. If they succeeded, humanity's fragile resistance would crumble. Ava devised a plan to ambush the convoy using decoys, drones modified by Samir's team to mimic human heat signatures and movement patterns. The goal was simple: lure the Zenari forces away from the ruins, buying Elena and her team enough time to uncover the ancient technology. Under the cover of night, Ava's unit deployed the drones near a canyon several miles from the convoy's path. As expected, the Zenari detected the false signals and diverted their forces to investigate. When they arrived, however, they found nothing but empty desert. Frustrated, they launched reconnaissance drones of their own. But these, too, fell victim to the ghost traps hidden along the canyon walls. "Got him!" shouted one of Ava's soldiers as Zenari drones plummeted from the sky, their systems fried by the electromagnetic bursts. Cheers erupted among the humans, though they knew this victory was temporary. The real battle still loomed ahead. Back in Egypt, Elena and her team worked feverishly to decipher the information contained within the glowing sphere. The holographic projections revealed detailed schematics of the global network designed to defend Earth. According to the data, key nodes of the system were located in strategic points around the planet, some buried deep underground, others submerged beneath oceans. Activating these nodes would amplify Earth's natural defenses, creating a shield powerful enough to repel the Zenari entirely. But activating the nodes required solving complex puzzles encoded in the sphere's interface. Time was running out. The Zenari were getting closer with each passing minute. Dr. Lin Mai worked alongside Elena, translating cryptic symbols while the rest of the team kept watch for signs of the enemy. Suddenly, the ground trembled violently. Dust rained down from the ceiling as distant explosions echoed through the tunnels. "They're here," yelled one of the soldiers guarding the entrance. Elena's heart raced, but she forced herself to focus. Humanity's survival depended on what happened next. With trembling fingers, she entered a sequence of commands into the sphere's interface. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a low hum filled the chamber, growing louder and more intense. Outside, the approaching Zenari forces froze as their equipment malfunctioned once again. This time, however, the disruption was far greater than before. Their shields flickered, their weapons failed, and their ship struggled to maintain altitude. It seemed the ancient network was beginning to awaken. "We did it," whispered Lin, tears streaming down her face. But the celebration was short-lived. The Zenari weren't about to give up, not when they realized what humanity had uncovered. As reinforcements poured into the area, Ava radioed Elena with grim news. "You've got maybe 10 minutes before they breach your position. Get out of there." Elena hesitated, torn between staying to unlock more secrets and retreating to safety. In the end, survival won out. Grabbing the sphere, she and her team fled deeper into the tunnels, knowing the fight was far from over. For now, humanity had struck another blow, but the cost of victory was mounting. The Zenari were not accustomed to failure. For centuries, their empire had expanded unchecked, crushing resistance with overwhelming force and precision. But Earth was different. Every tactic they tried, every weapon they deployed, was met with unexpected resistance. Humanity's ingenuity, coupled with the planet's mysterious defenses, frustrated them to their core. Commander Cal Vorn paced the bridge of his flagship, his crimson armor reflecting the dim red glow of warning lights. His patience was wearing thin. "They're adapting," Lieutenant Rin reported, her voice tense as she analyzed data from the recent skirmishes. "Their electromagnetic devices are becoming more effective. If we don't act soon, they'll turn our own technology against us." Kale stopped pacing and turned to face her. "Then we adapt as well," he growled. "We cannot afford to lose this world. Not when it holds something powerful enough to threaten the entire empire." He knew what needed to be done. Brute force alone wouldn't work. Humanity's resilience demanded a subtler approach. The Zenari would infiltrate Earth's ranks, sabotage their efforts from within, and uncover the secrets behind the ancient defense system before it could fully awaken. With a sharp nod, Kel ordered the deployment of their elite operatives, shapeshifters capable of mimicking human forms. Meanwhile, on Earth, humanity continued its desperate struggle. Dr. Elena Voss and her team had narrowly escaped the Egyptian ruins, carrying the glowing sphere with them. They now hid in an underground bunker beneath the Swiss Alps, working around the clock to decode its remaining mysteries. Each revelation brought both hope and fear. The global network protecting Earth was vast and complex, requiring precise activation at multiple nodes to function properly. Activating even one node had already caused widespread disruption to the Zenari fleet, but doing so globally could tip the balance entirely. Among those aiding Elena was Highland 7, a Zenari spy disguised as a refugee named Alex Carter. Assigned to sabotage Project Aurora, Thailand had successfully infiltrated the team under the guise of a displaced scientist seeking refuge. At first, his mission was clear: gather intelligence, identify weaknesses, and report back to Commander Vorn. But as days passed, cracks began to form in his resolve. One evening, as Elena and Lynn worked late into the night, Silent watched silently from the corner of the lab. He observed how they collaborated, not as superior and subordinate, but as equals driven by shared purpose. Their laughter during brief moments of relief, their determination in the face of exhaustion. It all felt foreign to him. In the rigid hierarchy of the Zenari, emotions like trust and camaraderie were seen as liabilities. Yet here, among humans, they seemed to fuel incredible strength. "Alex," Elena called, snapping him out of his thoughts. "Can you hand me that tablet?" Silent nodded, handing over the device. As their fingers brushed briefly, he noticed the dark circles under her eyes and the way her hands trembled slightly from fatigue. She wasn't just fighting for survival. She was fighting for something greater, for the future of her species. For the first time, Silent questioned whether the Zenari truly deserved victory. His doubts deepened when he witnessed acts of kindness outside the bunker. Civilians, despite living in constant fear, shared food and shelter with strangers. Children played makeshift games in bombed-out streets, finding joy even amidst despair. These fragile yet defiant moments unsettled him. Humans weren't primitive or weak. They were resilient, resourceful, and united in ways the Zenari could never comprehend. Commander Vorn grew impatient waiting for updates. When Silent finally transmitted a coded message, it contained only vague details about the sphere and its potential. Suspicion flared among the Zenari leadership. "Eliminate the traitor if necessary," Kale ordered coldly. Unaware of the growing distrust back on the flagship, Thailand found himself at a crossroads. One night, while monitoring communications, he intercepted orders to launch a massive assault on the Swiss bunker. Panic surged through him. If he stayed silent, countless lives, including Elena's, would be lost. But betraying his people meant certain death. As dawn broke over the mountains, Silent made his choice. He approached Elena, his expression unreadable. "There's something you need to know," he said quietly. Elena looked up, startled. Before she could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. The Zenari had arrived. Time was running out. for everyone. The Zenari assault on the Swiss bunker began with a deafening roar. Their ships descended through the mountains, unleashing beams of energy that shattered rock and sent avalanches tumbling down the slopes. Inside the facility, chaos erupted as alarms screamed and lights flickered. Dr. Elena Voss grabbed the glowing sphere, clutching it tightly to her chest. She couldn't let it fall into enemy hands, not after everything they'd sacrificed to protect it. Everyone, move. Commander Ava Rice shouted, her voice cutting through the panic. She had arrived just hours earlier to coordinate security for the bunker, but now she was leading a desperate evacuation. Soldiers ushered scientists and civilians toward hidden tunnels designed as escape routes, while others prepared to hold off the invaders. Silent Seven stood frozen for a moment, torn between his duty to the Zenari and his growing allegiance to humanity. Finally, he sprang into action, helping Elena carry equipment to safety. This way, he urged, guiding her toward one of the tunnels. His betrayal would soon be discovered, if it hadn't been already, but right now survival took priority. Outside, the battle raged. Zenari ground forces advanced, their sleek armor glinting in the pale morning light. But as they moved closer to the bunker, something extraordinary happened. The ground beneath them trembled violently, and fissures split open, swallowing entire squads whole. Steam hissed from cracks in the earth, scalding those who tried to retreat. Massive trees uprooted themselves, their roots writhing like tentacles as they swatted at the alien invaders. "What is this?" one of the Zenari commanders barked, staring in disbelief as nature itself turned against them. Rocks levitated midair, forming jagged barriers that blocked their path. Lightning arced across the sky, striking their ships with pinpoint accuracy. It was as if Earth had awakened, its fury unleashed upon the invaders. Inside the bunker, Elena watched the scene unfold on surveillance monitors. Her eyes widened as realization dawned. "It's the network," she whispered. Activating even part of it triggered. "This." Dr. Lin Mei nodded grimly. "Earth isn't just defending us. It's fighting back." The ancient system buried deep within the planet wasn't merely a shield. It was alive, responding to the presence of the Zenari with primal rage. Every step they took, every weapon they fired, only fueled its wrath. For the first time, the invaders faced an opponent they couldn't outsmart or overpower, the very world they sought to conquer. Back on the flagship, Commander Kel Vorn slammed his fist against the control panel as reports poured in. Entire platoons were being wiped out by inexplicable phenomena. Volcanic eruptions where none should exist, hurricanes forming in seconds, and earthquakes reducing their vehicles to rubble. Even their orbital fleet wasn't safe. Ships caught in Earth's atmosphere began to malfunction as electromagnetic storms intensified. "This planet is cursed," muttered Lieutenant Rin, her usual composure slipping. She glanced at Kull, who stared silently at the holographic display of Earth. Its surface now pulsed faintly with blue light, almost mocking them. "We underestimated it," Kale admitted, his voice low and dangerous. "But we will not make that mistake again." As the Zenari regrouped, humanity used the brief reprieve to fortify their defenses. In the tunnels beneath the bunker, Elena worked tirelessly to stabilize the sphere, hoping to gain better control over the awakening network. Xylan assisted her, his guilt weighing heavily, but his resolve strengthening. He had chosen a side, and now he intended to fight for it. Commander Reyes coordinated efforts to relocate survivors to safer locations, knowing the Zenari wouldn't give up easily. "They'll adapt," she warned during a quick briefing. "We have to stay one step ahead." Elena looked up from her work. Exhaustion etched on her face. "If we can activate more nodes, maybe we can end this before they recover." But activating additional nodes required venturing into hostile territory, risking capture, or worse. As plans were made and teams assembled, one thing became clear: the next phase of the war would test humanity's courage like never before. Earth had proven it could fight alongside them, But could they endure what came next? The Zenari flagship floated ominously above Earth, its sleek hull reflecting the chaos unfolding below. Commander Calvorn stood rigid on the bridge, his crimson armor gleaming under harsh artificial lights. The reports streaming in painted a grim picture. Their forces were being decimated, not by human weapons, but by Earth itself. Volcanoes erupted where none had existed for millennia. Hurricanes tore through their landing zones, and seismic activity swallowed entire platoons whole. It was as if the planet had declared war against them. "This cannot continue," Kale growled, his voice low and dangerous. He turned to Lieutenant Rin, who stood nearby, her expression tense. "We must sever the source of this resistance." Rin hesitated before responding. "Sir, our intelligence suggests the humans are activating nodes of some ancient system. If we destroy the central hub—" "No," Kale interrupted sharply. "Destroying it might make things worse. We need control, not destruction." His gaze hardened. "Find the traitor. Xylon 7 has gone silent, and I suspect he's aiding the humans. Retrieve him, and any information he's gathered. At all costs." Meanwhile, deep within Earth's tunnels, humanity prepared for what would likely be their most dangerous mission yet. Dr. Elena Voss and her team worked feverishly to decode new data from the glowing sphere, hoping to locate additional nodes of the planetary defense network. Activating more nodes could amplify Earth's natural counterattacks, potentially driving the Zenari away for good. But reaching those nodes meant venturing into areas crawling with alien patrols. Xylon 7, still disguised as Alex Carter, volunteered to lead one of the teams. His knowledge of Zenari tactics made him invaluable, though his presence remained a secret known only to Elena and Commander Avarayes. Despite their trust, Xylon couldn't shake the guilt gnawing at him. Every step deeper into enemy territory felt like walking a tightrope between redemption and ruin. As the team moved cautiously through dense forest near a suspected node location in Brazil, Xylon noticed subtle signs of Zenari surveillance, broken branches, faint energy trails left by their drones. "They know we're coming," he whispered to the group. "Stay close and keep your devices ready." Hours later, they reached the site, an ancient stone structure partially buried beneath vines and moss. The air hummed with energy, and faint blue light pulsed from cracks in the rocks. Elena approached cautiously, holding the sphere aloft. As she aligned it with the structure, the ground trembled, and the surrounding jungle came alive with movement. Suddenly, Zenari soldiers emerged from the shadows, weapons trained on the team. Before anyone could react, Xylon stepped forward, raising his hands in surrender. "Wait," he called out in perfect Zenari. "I've brought you what you seek." Elena stared at him in shock, betrayal flashing across her face. "Xylon." "I'm sorry," he said softly, turning back to look at her. Then, without warning, he lunged at the nearest Zenari soldier, grabbing his weapon and firing wildly. Chaos erupted as both sides exchanged fire. Xylon fought with desperate determination, buying time for Elena and the others to activate the node. "Do it now," he shouted, dodging blasts of energy. Elena hesitated for a split second, then placed the sphere into a slot on the structure. A brilliant flash of light engulfed the area, followed by a deafening roar. The ground quaked violently, and a massive surge of electromagnetic energy rippled outward, disabling every piece of Zenari technology within miles. When the dust settled, the alien forces lay immobilized, their equipment fried. But Xylon was gone, having sacrificed himself to ensure the mission's success. Elena collapsed to her knees, clutching the sphere tightly. Tears streamed down her face, not just for Xylon, but for everything they'd lost and gained in such a short time. Back on the flagship, Commander Kale received word of the failed operation. His fists clenched as he processed the report. "So the traitor dies a coward's death," he muttered bitterly. But there was no time for grief or anger. Earth's defenses were growing stronger with each passing day, and the Zenari Empire faced a choice: retreat or risk annihilation. For the first time in centuries, fear flickered in Cal's eyes. The activation of the Brazilian node marked a turning point in humanity's struggle against the Zanari. Earth's defense network pulsed with renewed vigor, its energy spreading across continents like veins lighting up under skin. Ancient structures hidden beneath mountains, deserts, and oceans began to resonate in unison, their combined power creating an impenetrable barrier around the planet. For the first time, the Zanari fleet found itself locked out, unable to penetrate Earth's atmosphere without suffering catastrophic damage. But Commander Cal Vorn refused to accept defeat. On board his flagship, he convened an emergency meeting with his senior officers. Holographic projections displayed the growing electromagnetic shield enveloping Earth, its blue glow mocking their efforts. "We cannot retreat," Cal declared, his voice cold and resolute. "If we leave now, every world in the galaxy will see us as weak. We must strike at the heart of this resistance, the central hub." Lieutenant Rin frowned, her sharp features etched with concern. "Sir, if the shield is already this strong, how do you propose we reach the core? Even our most advanced ships would be torn apart." Cal's lips curled into a grim smile. "We won't go through the shield. We'll use their own system against them." He pointed to a map showing the locations of the recently activated nodes. "Each node amplifies the network. If we disable one critical node, the entire system could collapse. And I know exactly where to strike." Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Elena Voss and her team worked tirelessly to stabilize the awakened network. The glowing sphere sat at the center of their makeshift lab, its light flickering erratically as if sensing the looming threat. Despite their progress, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that they were running out of time. Xylan's sacrifice weighed heavily on her mind, but she forced herself to focus. Humanity needed her strength now more than ever. Commander Avaraiz arrived just as Elena was analyzing data from the latest node activations. "We've got trouble," Ava said bluntly, tossing a tablet onto the table. It displayed intel intercepted from the Zanari flagship. Plans to target the Swiss bunker, the original node that had started it all. "They're going after the heart of the system," Elena whispered, dread settling in her chest. "Without the Swiss node, the entire network might unravel, leaving Earth vulnerable once again." "We can't let that happen," Ava replied firmly. "I'm assembling a strike team to defend the bunker. But we also need volunteers for something bigger, a direct assault on the Zanari flagship." Elena looked up sharply. "An assault? That's suicide." "It's our only chance," Ava countered. "If we take out their command ship, the rest of the fleet will fall into disarray. We'll never get another opportunity like this." The plan was risky, bordering on reckless. Pilots willing to risk their lives stepped forward, including Samir Khan, who had spent weeks modifying civilian aircraft into makeshift fighters armed with ghost traps. Though inexperienced in space combat, Samir's ingenuity gave humanity a fighting chance. Alongside him were dozens of volunteers, ordinary people driven by extraordinary courage. As the strike force prepared for launch, Elena handed Samir a small device linked to the glowing sphere. "This will amplify your traps," she explained. "It's experimental, but it might give you the edge you need." Samir nodded, gripping the device tightly. "For Xylan," he said quietly, "and everyone else who didn't make it this far." The battle began in orbit, humanity's Ragdig fleet emerging from Earth's shadow to face the Zanari armada. Outgunned and outnumbered, the human pilots relied on speed, agility, and teamwork to evade enemy fire. Samir led decoy maneuvers, luring Zanari ships away from the main group while others closed in on the flagship. Inside the alien vessel, chaos reigned as infiltrators fought their way toward the core reactor. Among them was Hylan 7, or rather, his memory carried forward by those he inspired. His final act of bravery became a rallying cry, fueling humanity's determination to prevail. When the flagship's shields finally collapsed, Samir unleashed the amplified ghost trap, overloading the ship's systems. Explosions rippled through the hull as the humans retreated, their mission accomplished. Back on Earth, the network stabilized once more, stronger than before. Humanity had struck its greatest blow yet, but the war was far from over. Commander Kelvorn watched helplessly as his flagship crumbled around him, his empire teetering on the brink of collapse. For the first time, he understood fear, not of death, but of failure. The destruction of the Zenari flagship sent shockwaves through their fleet. Without their central command, the invaders descended into disarray. Ships collided in confusion, weapons fired aimlessly, and shield generators faltered under Earth's relentless electromagnetic storms. For humanity, it was a moment of triumph, but also one of uncertainty. The Zenari were wounded, not defeated, and as long as even a single alien ship remained in orbit, Earth was still in danger. Back on the planet's surface, Dr. Elena Voss stared at the glowing sphere, its light now steady and calm. The activation of multiple nodes had stabilized the ancient network, but something deeper was stirring. The sphere pulsed faintly, almost rhythmically, as if alive. Helena placed her hand on its surface, feeling a warmth that hadn't been there before. She exchanged a glance with Dr. Lin Mei, who stood beside her, equally awestruck. "It's responding to us," Lin whispered, "not just to the Zenari." Elena nodded slowly. "This system, it's not just a defense mechanism. It's sentient." Before they could explore this revelation further, the ground beneath them trembled violently. The walls of the bunker shook, and dust rained from the ceiling. Outside, the auroras that had lit up Earth's skies for days intensified, swirling faster and brighter than ever before. Lightning arced across continents, striking down stray Zenari vessels still hovering above the atmosphere. Oceans churned, creating massive tidal waves that swallowed entire fleets attempting to flee. Volcanoes erupted simultaneously, spewing ash and molten rock into the sky. "It's awakening," Elena murmured, her voice filled with awe and fear. The ancient guardian buried within Earth wasn't merely defending itself anymore. It was retaliating with full force. High above, Commander Kelvorn fought desperately to regain control of his crumbling forces. His once mighty armada was reduced to scattered remnants, fleeing blindly as Earth's fury consumed them. He barked orders over failing communication channels, trying to rally what remained of his troops. But even he couldn't deny the truth. They were losing, not just the battle, but their grip on survival itself. On board one of the last remaining cruisers, Lieutenant Rin watched the chaos unfold with growing despair. Her sharp eyes scanned the readouts streaming in from their sensors. "Commander, we're detecting energy signatures unlike anything we've seen before," she reported. "It's spreading." Kale clenched his fists, his crimson armor reflecting the red glow of warning lights. "What do you mean, spreading?" Rin hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "The planet's energy, it's expanding outward. If it reaches us." She didn't need to finish. They both knew what would happen. Whatever Earth's guardian was, it wasn't content to simply push the invaders away. It intended to annihilate them completely. As the energy surged higher, enveloping the remaining Zenari ships, humanity watched with mixed emotions. Civilians gathered in streets and rooftops, gazing upward as the alien vessels disintegrated one by one. Cheers erupted in some places, tears flowed in others. No one knew whether to celebrate or mourn. Even those who had fought hardest against the invaders, like Commander Avarius and Samir Khan, felt a pang of unease. Was this justice or vengeance? Inside the Swiss bunker, Elena realized the implications of what was happening. The Guardian wasn't distinguishing between friend and foe. It sought only to protect Earth, at any cost. She grabbed the sphere, her mind racing. There had to be a way to stop it, to bring balance without eradicating every trace of the Zenari presence. "Lin," she called urgently, "help me interface with the sphere again. We have to shut it down, or at least contain it." Lin hesitated, glancing nervously at the trembling walls around them. "Are you sure? What if we make things worse?" "We don't have a choice," Elena replied firmly. "If we let this continue, we risk destroying everything, including ourselves." Working together, they connected the sphere to a series of consoles, rerouting its energy output. Lines of code scrolled across screens as they tried to communicate with the awakened entity. Minutes felt like hours as the bunker quaked violently, threatening to collapse. Finally, the sphere dimmed slightly, its pulsing light slowing to a steady rhythm. The auroras outside began to fade, and the earthquakes subsided. Earth's guardian had calmed, but not entirely. Its presence lingered, a silent promise that it would rise again if provoked. But for now, Earth was safe, and humanity stood ready to face whatever came next. The Zenari fleet was gone, or so it seemed. As the last of their ships flowed into the depths of space, Earth's skies cleared, revealing a pale blue expanse untouched by war for the first time in months. The auroras faded, leaving behind an eerie stillness that stretched across continents. Humanity emerged from bunkers and hiding places, blinking in the sunlight as if seeing their world anew. Buildings lay in ruins, forests smoldered, and oceans churned with debris. But amidst the devastation, there was hope. Dr. Elena Voss stood atop a hill overlooking what remained of Geneva, her arms crossed tightly against the cool breeze. The glowing sphere rested securely in a reinforced case at her side, its light now dim but steady. She had spent days deciphering its final messages before shutting it down, learning truths about Earth's ancient guardian that left her both humbled and terrified. The entity wasn't just a relic of the past. It was alive, a sentient force created to protect life itself. And while it had saved humanity this time, Elena knew it wouldn't hesitate to act again if provoked. "This changes everything," she murmured to herself, glancing at Dr. Lin Mei, who stood nearby jotting notes onto a tablet. "We thought we were alone in the universe, but Earth has been fighting battles for millions of years without us even knowing." Lin nodded solemnly. "And now, we're part of it, whether we like it or not." Commander Avarayes joined them moments later, her uniform dusty, but her posture unwavering. Despite the scars of battle etched on her face, there was a quiet strength in her eyes. "It's over, for now," she said, scanning the horizon. "But we can't let our guard down. They'll come back." Elena turned to her, determination hardening her expression. "Then we prepare. We study the network, understand how it works, and make sure we're ready next time." Across the globe, people began rebuilding. In Mumbai, Samir Khan returned to his workshop, where he found messages scrawled on walls by grateful survivors. "Thank you, Ghostmaker." He smiled faintly, running his fingers over the makeshift tools scattered across his workbench. Though he missed Thailand 7, the man who had sacrificed everything, he carried forward the lessons of bravery and redemption. Together with other engineers, he started designing new technologies inspired by the ancient system, ensuring humanity would never be caught unprepared again. Children played in parks reclaimed from rubble, their laughter echoing through empty streets. Farmers tilled fields blackened by firestorms, planting seeds in soil enriched by ash. Governments collaborated openly for the first time, pooling resources to heal wounds inflicted by war. Humanity had faced extinction and survived. That knowledge bound them together in ways no treaty ever could. But deep in space, Commander Calvorn nursed his defeat aboard a battered cruiser limping toward the edge of the galaxy. His crimson armor bore scratches earned during the retreat, each one a reminder of Earth's defiance. For centuries, the Zenari had ruled unchallenged, their dominance absolute. Now, they had tasted fear and failure. "We will return," Kale vowed to his remaining crew, his voice cold and resolute. "Earth will learn that challenging the Zenari comes at a cost greater than survival." Yet doubt lingered in his mind. What had begun as a routine conquest had become something far more complex. Earth wasn't just another world. It was alive, intelligent, and capable of resistance beyond comprehension. Could the Zenari truly conquer such a planet, or had they underestimated its power for the last time? Back on Earth, Belina gazed at the stars, her thoughts drifting to the future. Humanity had unlocked secrets buried for eons, proving that resilience and unity could overcome even the greatest odds. But she also understood the weight of responsibility. Earth's guardian had awakened, and with it came a promise: protect life, or face annihilation. As night fell, the sky glittered with distant suns, each one a reminder of the vast unknown waiting beyond. Humanity had fought its first interstellar war, and won. Yet this victory was only the beginning. For the first time in history, Earth looked outward, not as prey, but as a protector. And somewhere among the stars, the Zenari plotted their revenge, unaware that humanity was no longer afraid. The dawn of a new era had arrived.